Welcome to my channel. My name is Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and in this video, we will be going over the energy for the new moon in Aquarius that we are having January 29th, 2025. I will be going over the chart for the new moon, then we will get into Canada's chart and go over the energy and activations for Canada, and then we will get into all 12 rising signs. I will have timestamps below so that you can um, find your zodiac sign, but I do recommend at least watching the portion where I go over the general energy for the new moon because it'll bring more context to the energies, especially once we get into all 12 rising signs. So let's get right into it. So we have this new moon in Aquarius happening at 9 degrees, 51 minutes. And it's in this conjunction with Mercury and Pluto. So we have a lot, now that we have Pluto in Aquarius, this area of life is shifting, changing, and going through massive transformation over the next 20 years because Pluto is going to be in Aquarius for 20 years. So we've had a little taste of what this Pluto in Aquarius energy is going to feel like the last couple of years, but now Pluto is in Aquarius and is going to remain in Aquarius. Pluto's not moving back into Capricorn. So this Pluto in Aquarius transit has fully shifted. So Aquarius ruling things like the collective, the people, humanity, humanitarian pursuits, innovation, doing things different, technology, all of those things are going to be changed over the next 20 years, which we're already starting to see, especially around like technologies, AI. Once Uranus shifts into Gemini, that's really going to amp up, and we're going to get a taste of that this year. And I will be posting a video about Uranus and Gemini. Uranus takes about 7 to 8 years to transit a sign. So, Uranus is going to dip into Gemini this year, kind of showing us a little bit of what this is going to bring. And then in 2026, the shift will, finally take place. But this is the year where we really get to see what all of these energies are going to bring because we have all of the outer planets shifting signs. We have Neptune moving into Aries. So, this is the year where we're really going to see the changes that everybody's been talking about is going to happen by the time we get to 2030. Okay, so back to the new moon energies. So, this is a time where we want to set intentions. The new moon is a time we want to set intentions, especially when it has to do with those Aquarian themes and topics. Having this new moon forming a nice trine to Jupiter is bringing in more of that optimistic energy, expansion energy, or expansive energy. Mind you, Jupiter is at a standstill because at this point, Jupiter's going to station direct in about a week. A week from this new moon. So Jupiter's not really moving, which can create sometimes feelings of defeat or not even just defeat, just inflated optimism, like not pessimistic, but like just a hard time kind of getting in the optimistic, positive energy when Jupiter's kind of at a standstill because we're not feeling that full energy from Jupiter. However, nonetheless, Jupiter is bringing in somewhat positive energy to the manifestations of the intentions that will manifest at the time or over the next 6 months. So, how I usually, if you watch my previous videos, how I use the new moon videos is whatever intentions you set at the time of the new moon will manifest by the time we have the full moon in Aquarius in that same sign. So the full moon in Aquarius is going to take place August 9th of 2025. So from January 29th to August 9th, your manifestations will take place. Now, the new moon chart, I feel, really kind of shows how the manifestations will take place and also what needs to be done for those manifestations to take place. At this time, we have all this Pisces energy. So the Pisces area of your life is really being hit, really being activated. We have Neptune moving closer to that north node, where Neptune is asking us to really dive into our intuition and follow our spiritual path. At this time, with all these heightened Pisces energies, it can be very easy to avoid what we need to face and avoid what we must do in order to maintain our spiritual path and personal growth and personal evolution and really accomplish that. So we also have Venus kind of moving closer to that conjunction as well, which really does take place once we get to February 1st. We have this conjunction. And then as we move through February, March, Saturn moves closer to the conjunction. So there really is this activation taking place in this area, and the Saturn energies wants you to be responsible. Saturn rules commitment, responsibility, discipline. So, we have that element kind of coming into which is kind of nice because I feel like this having the Saturn touch in Pisces is what is somewhat keeping us a bit grounded and level-headed, because with the Pisces energies we can become, it's very illusionary, and sometimes we can over idealize things and situations and people, and where that still can absolutely be a thing. I feel like the Saturn energies kind of, balancing that out a little bit, which is nice. Now, this new moon is ruled by Saturn traditionally, because Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius, and Uranus is the modern ruler. So, Uranus getting ready to station direct. Uranus actually stations direct January 30th. So, like the day after this new moon, Uranus is going to station direct, which is really interesting. Now, Uranus being in Taurus can affect, and Uranus being the ruler of this new moon, can affect our money systems and financial institutions. Collectively, we can see something around that. Individually, it's going to be the Taurus area of your life that can be activated with this Uranus energy, especially the fact that Uranus is getting ready to station direct. So if you have any personal planets or points around that 23 degrees, you can really feel this. But what this really shows is that in order for these manifestations to take place, and whatever intentions that you're going to set at this time, there is a need to think outside the box. There's a need to do things a little bit different. This energy requires innovation, requires discipline too, because of that Saturnian energy, to really stick with it and push forward. And as much as these Pisces energies can make it very easy for us to escape and ignore what we must do, we're going to be required to really stick to our spiritual path and stick to whatever it is, whatever direction that you're wanting to move in, and whatever intentions that you're setting at this time. Now, having Mercury in Aquarius really brings this innovative thinking, and especially having that Mercury really close to Pluto can bring in some deep, powerful thoughts and insight, and enhance intuition as well. So that's also really interesting. And also the fact that this is basically the imprint for the next 6 months. This energy, transformative thinking is going to be a thing, and your thoughts around direction. Like I mean, you should always journal, but I would really try to journal after this new moon, just because of this like Mercury Pluto conjunction, especially when it has to do with like the intentions that you're setting. If you're getting through meditation, or if you're getting any intuitive thoughts, they could be insight into the direction that you should move into, or, choices and decisions. Now, we also have this interesting dance going on between Uranus retrograde and Mars retrograde. And having Mars retrograde in Cancer is really deflating energies. Especially when it has to do with like motivation and drive. We're really having to dig deep to kind of find that willpower to get moving, I find. And Mars will station direct February 23rd. But it's interesting that Mars and Uranus keep kind of moving through this dance, this sextile, bringing in this opportunity, I find, for internal insight, growth. It can stir up emotions, because Cancer can be very emotional. And when we have retrograde planets, that energy becomes more internalized. So we could be going through a lot emotionally, old emotions stirring up, whether it's from old family dynamics or relationships or money, even can be a thing with this. When it has to do with what makes you feel safe and secure, and what brings stability into your life, this is what can be stirred up with this energy, with this sextile. And it really is for growth in some way. So we can all be moving through this in our own way, where it's like the foundations are being shaken a little bit in our life emotionally and even financially, right? Because of the Taurus energy. And it's so we can grow and expand a lot. And move into like a new path that is more in alignment with where the direction we should be moving into. So I hope that makes sense. We also have Uranus in this somewhat sextile with Venus too, which again can be bringing in themes of relationships, self love, self worth, finances, values, and Venus rules Taurus. So Venus is dispositing this or Uranus energy here, and Uranus is forming a sextile to Venus, which sextiles can bring in opportunity. The sextile aspect um, creates an opportunity, but you must take action. It's not like a trine where it's kind of this easy flowing energy that is going to manifest. With a sextile, there can be an opportunity or a decision choice or whatever, but you must take action on it. You must take action and move in that direction. So pay attention around this time to what is showing up for you, especially around insights on relationships, insights on financial decisions. I mean, at this time, Venus is going to be in pre-shadow because Venus enters pre-shadow January 27th. And that's because Venus is going to station retrograde on March 1st. So, retrogrades, we have three phases. We have the pre shadow phase, which is when Venus reaches the degree points that she's going to retrograde over. We have the retrograde phase, and then we have when Venus actually stations retrograde and appears to be moving backwards. And then we have the post shadow phase, which is when Venus moves forward over the degree points and starts moving ahead again. And there's really kind of themes and topics that we revisit during this process. So, whatever is showing up at this time, we're going to be revisiting this. It has to do with relationships, self love, money, finances, material possessions, your values. These are all going to be themes that we will be revisiting. So, you definitely want to be, I'm going to post a video too on Venus retrograde, but you definitely want to be paying attention at this time and Venus in this Pisces energy with all these conjunctions bringing in and activating more change and insight and intuition. We're revisiting all this energy, so it's not even like we just get this once, we get this three times. So pay attention to what is showing up once we reach the end of January and through February. Once Venus moves direct, that's when we have more clarity and tend to know the direction we want to move in and the choices that we want to make. Through the retrograde period, there can be a lot of confusion and unknowns. So, all in all, with this new moon energy, I feel like, because this is kind of at a Venus pre-shadow period and Uranus and Jupiter at a standstill, I feel like the energies or the intentions that we set at this time, like there's going to be change. It requires change. It requires you to do something different that you've never done before, outside of the box. And it's going to also require you to release and let go of that fear because of that North Node energy in Pisces as well. Having the North Node in Pisces is really like encouraging us to follow our spiritual path, to really dive deep into our spiritual growth and personal evolution. Individually and collectively, this is something we'll all be moving into. I was thinking about this while I was driving the other day with the North Node in Pisces collectively. It's almost like people will be subconsciously, like spiritually, you have to choose two paths, and it'll be either the spiritual path in the path that's, for your higher good, or it's going to be this escapism path. And I think addiction is going to be something that is really heightened at this time, that we will see in the collective. Those who do not choose the higher spiritual path, it will be falling into this almost like, I don't want to say abyss, but it'll be, the tendencies to escape and avoid and not do what you must do, because eventually Saturn's going to move out of that Pisces energy, and that somewhat um grounding that we're getting from Saturn, I feel like it's going to be gone. So we don't want to fly away with our avoidance and escapism tendencies and go down the wrong path. But I really do feel like that's kind of a thing that we're going to see in the collective, a lot around addictions and Pisces rules addictions and alcohol, drugs, pharmaceuticals. That's even ruled by Neptune. So I think we're going to see a lot around that with the nodes being in Pisces and Virgo. But what you really have to ask yourself, I feel like over the next 18 months while we have the nodes in Pisces and Virgo, is whenever you're making some type of major decision or choice, is this for my higher good? Is this for, and not even just for you, but for the collective? Because of Pluto and Aquarius now, and even because Uranus is shifting into Gemini, very much we are entering this era of um coming together, and it's not an individual, how do I word this? It's like not so much on just what do I need, but what is for the better good of all, with this Pluto and Aquarius energy. What helps not just me, but everyone? What doesn't just raise the energy for me, but raises the energy for the collective? And that's very much the mindset we have to have. So I hope that kind of gives you some insight to this new moon energy and the intentions that you can set at the time of this new moon, and, what kind of needs to be done to manifest those intentions, thinking outside of the box, making changes, doing things a little bit differently, but that is for your higher good, the higher good of the collective. More on your spiritual path and, trusting your intuition. So now let's get into Canada's chart. So one thing I wanted to start off with for Canada is because Canada's Cancer rising. Canada has a Cancer ascendant, and I just realized I don't have the personal points in this chart, but that's okay because the ascendant's like right here somewhere. We have Mars retrograde transiting through Canada's first house. Mars rules Canada's 10th house, which I always looked at the 10th house for government. And we just had Trudeau resign, right? So I find this really interesting having Mars retrograde, showing that there's definitely going to be changes within our government that is going to affect Canada. And Mars stations direct February 23rd. So I feel like we'll get more answers and direction around that February 23rd. And then another thing I find interesting is somebody commented under my Pierre Poilievre video that he may become prime minister by, I think he said like April, May. Well, Mars is going to leave post shadow May 3rd. So that can be when this is all finalized. May 3rd, we have a new prime minister and everything is complete. So I find that really interesting. But yeah, it sometimes um the astrology is so like accurate and represents it in such a way. It's just so fascinating. And Canada is also going through their nodal reversal. So Canada has its north node in Virgo in the third house and south node in Pisces. So Canada is also going through its nodal reversal, which means there is going to be major changes in Canada over the next 18 months. Because this is, the energy around the nodes and eclipses is, very fated, karmic, destined. And so when it has to do with the journey of Canada, um, there is definitely going to be some major changes. Now, the third house in a birth chart rules themes like vehicles, your community, neighbors, siblings, cousins, communication, connection, how you connect, all of those things can be changed. Maybe how communications in Canada. So, how we communicate online, how we connect to one another, how we get involved within our community. Our neighbors, how we relate to people within our community, and all of that. Those are things and themes and topics are all kind of front and center. Vehicles too, maybe the price of vehicles changing in some way. Um, when Jupiter enters Cancer, I'm going to make a Jupiter and Cancer video, but when Jupiter enters Cancer, just on a general scale, I can see house prices raising significantly because Jupiter is the planet of expansion and growth. Cancer rules things like, oh, I know this is kind of off topic, but I was thinking about this. Um, and Cancer rules things like home, family, property, real estate. I can totally see the price of houses like skyrocketing with Jupiter and Cancer, just generally, not just for Canada, for everybody. um, just with that energy. So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of throw that in there. Now, with all these Pisces activations, that ninth house where we have Canada's natal south node and the north node transiting, the ninth house rules things like higher education, higher knowledge, long distance travel, philosophy, belief systems. So when we're talking about a country, we could be talking about colleges, universities, travel, how we travel, like through airplane, trains, stuff like that. And that can also be in the third house too. So there could be a lot changing about travel in Canada. There could be a lot changing around education because even like education early years is in the third house and then like college universities in the ninth house. So we would have like, kindergarten to grade 8 in the third house, even high school in the third house, and then colleges, universities in the ninth house. So there could be a lot changing around schools in Canada with this energy over the next 18 months. Even teaching is in the ninth house. So stuff around teachers could be a thing with this energy that could be activated. Um, and then, yeah, travel and belief systems, philosophy, and religion is in the ninth house too. So we can see a lot around that as well being triggered and activated with this energy. Now, the new moon itself is in the eighth house of joint finances. So Canada's like relationship with other countries and like the financial agreements and stuff like that. And I don't know the proper terms for this stuff, so you guys can you know what I mean. But when it has to do with like, money coming in and out of Canada, financial areas like how they financial agreements with like other countries and stuff like that, goods and all of that. There can be something kind of starting new with this new moon or triggered. The eighth house also rules death, transformation. So we may see over the next 6 months something around that. The full moon in Aquarius will be August 9th of 2025, and it'll be in the second house of money, finances, material possessions. So there can be over the next 6 months possibly a lot changing around financial institutions and money and yeah, the agreements they kind of have with foreign cultures too. And because foreign cultures is also in the ninth house as well. So I would say there's a lot of energy kind of around that. Um, which like if Trudeau leaves and we get a new prime minister, there can definitely be newer opportunities for Canada, right? So that's also, oh, I just realized that the date here I forgot to put in white when I changed the background. Anyways, it's for January 29th, 2025. I just realized that. But yeah, there could definitely be like some newer opportunities coming in with a new leader, new energy. That's definitely something we can look forward to. We also have the transiting Saturn in Pisces, kind of sitting on top of Canada's south node, and also forming a trine to natal Saturn retrograde in the fifth house. Um, Now the fifth house in a country's chart is interesting because, like in a birth chart, the fifth house rules, what you do for pleasure, your hobbies, your interests, children, um, romance, things along that nature. So this trine could be, I mean, a trine is an easy flowing energy. What I would look at more is the houses ruled by Saturn. So like the seventh house of one-on-one connections, which would be Canada's relationship to other countries and leaders is changing in a positive way, I feel like, with this trine that we will see, which is interesting because we've heard like Trump and stuff say a lot of stuff, and I kind of I kind of feel like once we get Trudeau out of there, we're gonna have a lot more opportunities with stuff with other leaders and things of that nature. So I think that can be like a really great thing. Well, anyways, it's kind of all I see. Another thing I do want to know is that with this Uranus kind of at a standstill, getting ready to station retrograde in the 11th house of like social groups and networking and like the people, kind of gathering together. Um, oh, and another thing that just came to me intuitively is like this can be like the people of Canada as well. Um, Not being so divided, that could definitely be a thing. Not being so divided, coming more together as a whole, which I think the majority of us have all agreed, no matter what your faith is or belief system is, like a lot of us have kind of agreed that we need change in Canada. And that kind of brings us all together in some sense, I feel like. Um, but yeah, with this Uranus stationing, we could see something arise around like protests or something like that, especially too because the sextile, there's been this dance between Mars and Uranus. So again, this could have to do with the government and something happening very suddenly, which is, Trudeau's resignation. But there could be definitely something activated at the time that Uranus stations. And Uranus is going to station direct January 30th, the day after this new moon. Uranus rules this new moon. So there can definitely be something triggered around some sudden change within our government, or us seeing like protests and people voicing something around like a topic or theme. And I'm sorry, I'm not up to date on my Canadian news. You guys can get me, comment below if I hit on anything, but I have to start watching my Canadian news again. I kind of have been slacking in that area, so I don't know too much about what's going on in Canada other than Trudeau's resignation. But with this, maybe it's better that I don't know, because then if I see something kind of activated or triggered in the chart, it's not like I knew before. Um, but yeah, anyways, there can be something triggered here, kind of around like a protest or people gathering together. And yeah, so, oh, and also Mercury is opposing, Canada's natal Mercury, which Mercury rules that third house in Canada's chart and the 12th house. So there could be, again, something around this, schooling vehicles. We can see, yeah, something possibly triggered, activated, or, taking place around vehicles, price of vehicles. the 12th house is things that are like hidden too. So we may hear of secrets that within our government, or maybe things he was doing behind the scenes that nobody was aware of. That could definitely be a thing too over the next 6 months. Not necessarily that the secrets, because Mercury's also conjunct Pluto, not necessarily that we're going to hear it on the day of this new moon, but once new power comes in and over the next 6 months, things can start to come out that nobody knew of that he was doing or saying or whatever the case is. We can start to hear some of that on the news and the media with that Mercury energy. So I hope that that brings some insight to Canada. And I will be making some updated videos on kind of what's going on in Pierre Polyev and all that. And now let's get into all 12 rising signs. Aries, you have this new moon taking place in your 11th house of friends and friendships, social groups, networking, all the groups and associations you're connected to. Also, your hopes and dreams are in the 11th house. So, this is a great time for you to set intentions around those 11th house themes and topics. Now, your ruler is currently retrograde right here in your fourth house, forming a ongoing dance or sextile to Uranus retrograde in Taurus in your second house. Now, your fourth house rules home, family, property, real estate, your private life, and the second house is your money, finances, and material possessions. Uranus being the ruler, the co-ruler of this new moon, and Saturn being the other ruler, the traditional ruler of this full moon. Both these houses can be activated with this new moon. Did I say full moon? I mean new moon. Saturn being in your 12th house of things and places and people that are hidden, isolation, um, also places that are like hospitals, asylums, retreat centers, prisons are associated with the 12th house. Spirituality and karma is associated with the 12th house. So the 12th house and the second house can both be activated with this new moon. Now, the intentions that you set at the time of this new moon is going to require, in order for manifestation, which the full moon in Aquarius is August 9th, 2025. So the next 6 months is when we will see the manifestations of the intentions we set at the time of this new moon. And it is going to require you to think outside the box. It can't be it can affect your money, your finances and material possessions, and even your values. Something changing in this area of life. And then also, your home, family, property, and real estate. There can be some type of opportunity arising. You're having a lot of this Pisces energy activated, which is that 12th house, and then your ruler being retrograde. I find for Aries people, it's energy, motivation, willpower, drive is kind of very challenging at this time. It can be really hard to not fall into a depression. So I would definitely make sure you're grounding, doing those, taking care of yourself. Self-care is going to be, really important at this time. Um, and you'll start to feel better once Mars stations direct February 23rd. But yeah, this energy here in the 12th and the Mars retrograde, it can be a little difficult. I do have an Aries rising person in my life, and I'm kind of watching them, and it is a little bit challenging. But with this new moon, it's gonna with this Mercury conjunct Pluto, this can be like deep, intense thoughts, conversations, intuition, psychic abilities, can be enhanced with this over the next 6 months, I find. And if you watched the beginning of the first portion of this video where I go over the general energy of the new moon, I talk about the way of thinking now and kind of how to approach things is not on an individual level, but also on a collective level. So where Aquarius can rule individuality, it's how we connect with others too. It's how we relate to people, which can be changed over the next 6 months with this energy. Taurus, you have this new moon happening in your 10th house of your career. Public reputation, the legacy you leave behind after your working years. So this is a great time for you to set intentions around your career. Now, your ruler is currently in your 11th house. In this and getting ready to form a conjunction to Neptune and the North Node. And your 11th house rules friends and friendships, social groups, online connections, social media networking, also your hopes and your dreams. So there's kind of a lot of focus on those themes and topics at this time because there's just a lot of Pisces energy. There can be a lot of focus on your spiritual path and how you are putting that out into the collective. The communication and the conversations that you're having with the collective, if that makes sense, and with friends. Like there could be a lot of deep, intense conversations with friends at this time, especially with the Mercury Pluto conjunction. Now, the intentions that you set at the time of this new moon will manifest by the time we get to the full moon on August 9th. But what the full moon, what this imprint, this chart kind of shows is how those manifestations are going to take place and what needs to be done in order for the manifestations to take place. We have Uranus, which is the co-ruler of this new moon, in your first house, in this ongoing dance with Mars retrograde in your third house. So your third house can actually rule your mind, your mindset, communication. There's a lot here around communication and information and how you are presenting yourself. So there can be some new ideas um, almost showing up over the next 6 months within your career or that you want to present within your career, changes within your career, whether it's a new position or wanting to kind of start your own business or whatever the case is. And I find that there can be something over the next 6 months, but it does require you to kind of get out of your comfort zone. Now, Uranus is going to station direct the day after this new moon. So this can be a time, especially if your ascendant degree point is around 23 degrees of Taurus, where you are feeling a little uneasy or the anxiety can be heightened at this time with this energy. So it's definitely going to be really important to ground, try to slow the mind down, even though, with this energy between Uranus and Mars, that might be a little bit challenging. Um, but yeah, in order for your manifestations to take place over the next 6 months, it's going to require you to think differently, think outside the box, and not just focus on, what how this benefits you, but how this benefits the collective as a whole and everybody that you're connected to. Gemini, you have this new moon in Aquarius in your ninth house of higher education, higher knowledge, long distance travel, philosophy, belief systems, religion. So, this is a great time for you to set intentions around those themes and topics. Now, whatever intentions you're setting at the time of the new moon will manifest by the time we get to the full moon, which is going to take place, the full moon in Aquarius, August 9th, 2025. Now, what this chart shows is how these intentions are going to manifest and kind of what needs to be done and the energy around that. So, you currently have Jupiter in your first house, which is going to station direct about a week after this full moon, which Jupiter is connecting to, or not full moon, new moon. I keep saying full moon, this new moon. So, which is enhancing the optimism. Mind you, when Jupiter is kind of at a standstill, we can tend to feel a little deflated. Um, with Jupiter stationing direct in your first house, especially if you have degree points around 11 degrees, this can definitely bring in changes or um, almost like this desire to grow and but that ninth house rules like teaching. I'm not sure if this is a thing for you, but publishing, teaching, putting yourself out there in some way, especially with all this energy in your 10th house of career and higher and not higher education, career and public image. So there can definitely be a lot of energy around that, how you want to present yourself to the world, how you things you ideas that you want to communicate and express to the world, to the collective. This can definitely be a thing with this energy. Now, Uranus stationing direct and being the co-ruler of this new moon, the day after the new moon in your 12th house of isolation, spirituality. I mean, there could definitely be some type of powerful intuitive insight at this time that you might want to be just mindful of. Pay attention to kind of what is showing up for you intuitively, because that could definitely, be some powerful insight to help guide you down the path of manifestation for the intentions that you set at this time. Cancer, you have this new moon happening in your eighth house of your partner's finances, joint investments, psychological healing and transformation is in the eighth house. Um, Also, the eighth house can rule things like the occult, secrets. So, anything that has to do with like your partner's finances or joint finances, joint investments, money that you have with other people, it's a good time to set intentions around that. Or you may even find that there is something new with your partner's finances showing up over the next 6 months with this. Having Mercury conjunct Pluto shows that there can be some really powerful, especially in your eighth house, like there can be some really powerful, intense conversations that you're having at this time. Well, that we're all having, around like finances and stuff. So be mindful of that and aware of any kind of decisions around that. Now, Venus is going to station retrograde, so we don't really want to make any financial decisions till for the next couple months. I'm going to make a video on Venus retrograde, but we don't really want to make any financial decisions until Venus stations direct, because at this time, Venus is going to be in pre-shadow. So anything that is coming up around your finances can be revisited through the retrograde period, and then there'll be more clarity and more of an understanding on the direction to go after Venus stations direct, which will be after um, May 15th is when Venus finally finishes post shadow. She stations direct April 12th. So, yeah, after April 12th, things will start to make sense if there is anything kind of activated in your financial area of life. Now, Uranus is the co-ruler of this new moon, and Uranus is currently in your 11th house of friends and friendships, social media, networking, hopes and dreams. Uranus is going to station direct like a day after this new moon. So there can be something triggered or activated at this time that can manifest over the next 6 months around friends and friendships, your social media connections, anything you're doing online with all of this Pisces energy. I'm not sure if you're teaching or publishing, but that can definitely be a thing with this. It's almost like the ninth and 11th house merge together. So it's like teaching or doing something online can definitely be a thing or triggered or activated at this time. You also currently have Mars retrograde in your first house, which can be affecting your energy, your motivation, your willpower, your drive. Um, so yeah, this can also be stirring up a lot of deep emotions, even around old family dynamics or personal, private, dynamics of a life kind of coming to the surface that you're having to navigate and move through with this Mars retrograde. I know it's kind of off topic, but I did just want to mention that because Mars retrograde is in your first house, and that can be a little bit challenging. Mars is going to station direct February 23rd, so hopefully that energy will kind of subside and become a lot easier once we reach the end of February and into March. But any intentions you set at the time of this new moon will manifest by the time of the full moon, which we will have August 9th, 2025. Leo, you have this new moon in your seventh house of relationships and one-on-one connections, business partnerships. So this is a great time to set intentions around relationships and new partnerships. How you now have Pluto in this house, which is going to completely transform how you connect to people. Having Mercury conjunct Pluto at the time of this new moon can really be bringing in some intense, powerful conversations, intimate conversations with other people. That can definitely be a thing. But whatever intentions you set at the time of this new moon in Aquarius will manifest by the time we get to the full moon in Aquarius, which is going to take place August 9th, 2025. Now, Now, Uranus, being the co-ruler of this new moon, is up here in your 10th house of career and public reputation, your public image. Uranus is going to station direct like a day after this new moon. So there could be something triggered up here around your career, something changing, something new. Um, yeah, something different. And then Jupiter is going to station direct about a week after this new moon. And Jupiter is connecting to the new moon because the new moon's actually at 9 degrees. And Jupiter's at 11 degrees. So there's also this really beautiful trine formed here, which is, I mean, these are your people houses and how you connect to people. So if you're doing anything online or within a group or even one-on-one consultations or anything along those lines, this is really good positive energy. If you wanted to like set intentions to grow your business, if you connect with people within your business or whatever the case is, this would be a great energy to do so. Virgo, you have this new moon in Aquarius happening in your 6th house of work, health, and daily routine. Your nutrition habits, all of your day-to-day habits that you do, your routines, everything that's all in the 6th house. So this is a great time to set intentions around your daily routines, your work routine, your home routine. This is a great time to set intentions around your health or nutrition habits if you're wanting to start something new around that. The intentions that you set at the time of the new moon in Aquarius will manifest by the time we get to the full moon in Aquarius, which is going to happen August 9th, 2025. And what this chart shows is how those intentions are going to manifest and kind of what needs to be done for that to happen. So we have Uranus, which is the co-ruler, and oh, by the way, this new moon is at 9 degrees, just so you know. But Uranus, the co-ruler of this new moon, Saturn, the traditional ruler, that that means that these houses can be activated with this new moon energy. So there could be something triggered or activated around your relationships and one-on-one connections, and also around your belief systems or long distance travel, religious beliefs, teaching, publishing, all those 9th house themes and topics. There can definitely be something triggered at this time. And we also have Uranus in this ongoing sextile dance with Mars retrograde, which um which is interesting because Mars being in Cancer retrograde's really deflating the energy. I find a lot. It's really hard to find that kind of motivation and drive and get going. Um, but there can be some type of opportunity or something arising around friends, friendships, social groups, and your online connections like social media, things of that nature, and those 9th house themes and topics like teaching and publishing. Astrology is even in the 9th house. So there could be something that you're thinking about. Something's kind of bubbling to the surface, or you're maybe wanting to publish something or put something out there. Um, but either way, this is a great time to set intentions around these Aquarian 6th house themes and topics. Like maybe really, starting something new with your health that you've never done before. Maybe getting really serious about your health, which can be part of that Pluto and Aquarius energy in the 6th house. Now you have Pluto in your 6th house for the next 20 years. So there could be some, deep focus on your health and daily routines and how you want to change your health habits. Libra, you have this new moon in Aquarius happening in your 5th house of children, creativity, passion, romance, what you do for fun, hobbies, your interests, what you find pleasure in. It's all in the 5th house. So those themes and topics are what's being highlighted at the time of this new moon. And this is a great time for you to set intentions around those themes and topics. Now, with it being in Aquarius, this is requiring you to think outside the box. Try something new. There can be some new ideas coming in. There can actually be some really powerful intuitive insight because of the Mercury Pluto conjunction at this time. There can be some really intense, intimate conversations with children or romantic partners. Now, Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius, and Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. And so both the 6th house and the 8th house can also be activated at the time of this new moon and play a part in the manifestations of your intentions. So, the sixth house rules your daily routine, your health, nutrition habits, work ethic is in the sixth house. The labor that you put into your job or career is in the sixth house. Health, I think I said that. So, and all these, there's tons of Pisces energy. So, this area of your life is really being triggered and activated at this time. And having the North Node here, there's definitely something new, that you're going to be moving into over the next 18 months. But this is when there could be also be something triggered or activated around your health or um, your job, career, routine in some way. And then Uranus is getting ready to station direct in your eighth house. Uranus is going to station direct the day after this new moon. And your eighth house rules your partner's finances, joint investments, the money that you have with other people, also psychological healing and transformation, the occult secrets, that's all in the eighth house. And so there could definitely be a bit of a shakeup in this area of life. I don't want to like say it's like a bad shakeup. It's almost like foundations being shaken to bring in something new in a sense. And it doesn't necessarily have to be negative. We have Jupiter in Gemini at 11 degrees, which is going to station direct about a week after this new moon, forming a trine to the new moon. And the new moon is going to take place at 9 degrees here. So this is bringing in some really beautiful support and insight. There can also be something very positive taking place around higher education, higher knowledge, belief systems, long distance travel. Um, the ninth house is also can rule like publishing, astrology, those themes and topics. So there can be something also very positive in this area of life, kind of connected to like this is like creative energy in the fifth, and then publishing in the ninth. It's almost like, deciding to write a book or whatever you find passion in, whatever you're passionate about, kind of putting that out into the world in some way. This can definitely be a thing. Now, with Mars retrograde in your 10th house, you may find that there's a lot of changes going on around your career and public reputation. It can be a mixed bag of energy. It really depends on your personal relationship with Mars, whether Mars is your most malefic planet or not. Mars retrograde is kind of difficult for everybody just because Mars rules our motivation, willpower, and drive. And when Mars is retrograde, we tend to lack that a little bit. But all in all, this is a great time for you to set intentions around your creative pursuits, around children, around, what you're passionate about, what you find pleasure in. Scorpio, you have this new moon happening in your fourth house of home, family, property, real estate, your private life. And so this is a great time for you to set intentions around those themes and topics. There could actually be, really powerful, intimate, intense conversations at this time because of the Mercury Pluto conjunction. The new moon is actually at 9 degrees here. Um, but this is when, whatever intentions you set at the time of the new moon will manifest by the time we get to the full moon in Aquarius, which is taking place August 9th, 2025. So over the next 6 months is when you will see kind of things fall into place. And what this chart shows is how those manifestations are going to take place and kind of what needs to be done for that to do so. There's so much energy kind of in this fifth house and changes going on in this area of life that there can be a lot around romantic partnerships or children or creative pursuits, what you find happiness in and pleasure. So, kind of wheeling, like merging that into your intentions with this can definitely, help in some way. Now, we also have Uranus, the modern co-ruler of this new moon, in your seventh house of relationships. So while we have all of this heightened fifth house energy, which rules romance and romantic partnerships, we also have an activation of your seventh house of relationships and one-on-one connections because Uranus is the co-ruler of this new moon. Uranus is going to station direct the day after this new moon, which can trigger something being stirred up around relationships and one-on-one connections. Doesn't necessarily mean bad. Like there's a sextile to Mars retrograde at this time in your ninth house. So it could just be maybe your ninth house rules like long distance travel. It could be, maybe planning a trip away with your partner, but something changes around that, or something around children and schooling. That could be a thing as well. Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius, and it's again in your fifth house, which is even more so activating that fifth house energy. But all in all, this is a great time for you to set intentions around home, family, children, creativity, creative pursuits, um, and merging like your something around your private life or whatever you're moving through privately that not a lot of people know about. Um, However you need to kind of deal with that, try to think outside the box. And I know this is only going to speak to a select few of you, but whatever you're moving through privately, kind of behind the scenes, when it comes to resolution, try to think outside the box, bring in some new ideas. You can also have, like I said, some really powerful conversations with people or even intuitive downloads that can help you through whatever it is you're kind of moving through privately. Sagittarius, you have this new moon taking place in your third house of communication, mindset, speaking, reading, writing, community, neighbors are in the third house, also siblings and cousins and extended family is associated with the third house. Vehicles, your day-to-day travel. So if you take the bus or the train, that is all in the third house. And so this is a great time to set intentions around those third house themes and topics. Now, the intentions that you set at the time of the new moon will manifest by the time we get to the full moon in Aquarius, which is going to take place August 9th, 2025. Now, what this chart shows is how those intentions are going to manifest and what essentially needs to be done in order to do so. So, at the time of this new moon, we have Mercury conjunct Pluto in your third house already of communication and thoughts and your mindset. So, what I get from this is that there can be some really deep conversations at this time or some really powerful insight that's transforming your mindset in some way or, direction. Also, too, we have Saturn in Pisces, which there's a lot of energy and activations taking place in Pisces currently. And with this North Node here, there's going to be a lot of changes in this area of life. And the fourth house rules home, family, property, real estate, your private life, what you kind of do behind the scenes. And the South Node being in Virgo in your 10th house, which your 10th house kind of represents your public life, your career, your public image. There's a lot of changes going on in these areas of life over the next 18 months. So there can be something triggered or activated around the changes and the new direction that's taking place around home and family at this time in your private life because Saturn is the traditional co-ruler of Aquarius. So that's activating kind of this area of life. Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius, which is in your sixth house, getting ready to station direct. Uranus will station direct about the day after this new moon. And your sixth house rules your work, health, and daily routine, what you do day to day, your work routine, your home routine, your nutrition habits, your work ethic, and the labor that you put into your career and job. That is all in the sixth house. And with Uranus getting ready to station direct and being the ruler of this new moon, it's kind of shaking up this area of life. I feel like it's giving a little I visualize like almost like an earthquake, but a minor one. And it's just to kind of shake the foundations so that they can be changed and a new direction can be put in place. So this may be a time where you are deciding to change your nutrition habits because you're starting to feel kind of low energy or not having a lot of energy. And this is just an example of how this energy can manifest. Maybe you're wanting to change, your workout routine or do things more day to day so that you feel better. That could definitely be a thing. And again, these could be intentions that you are setting at the time of this new moon, wanting to become more healthier, wanting to change your work routine in some way. Like maybe you want to implement something into your job or your home. Maybe for your children, setting out a schedule for chores or something of that nature can definitely be a thing. And part of that shakeup could be is maybe you're having difficulty with your kids doing chores, so you're like, I'm going to put up a schedule and this is what we're going to do. Now that's again just an example of how this energy can manifest, but these areas of life are being triggered and activated with this new moon and really need to be merged into the intentions that you're setting. So this would be a great time to set intentions around your mindset, around your day-to-day work, your day-to-day routine, your health habits. And again, whatever is changing in this fourth house over the next 18 months with the nodes here, there can be, again, something triggered and activated, something presented at this time that is shifting and changing your mindset around home and family, your direction when it has to do with this area of life. Like maybe you're planning a move or having a baby, that changes the home. But there can definitely be something coming in or triggered at this time. Capricorn, you have this new moon in Aquarius happening in your second house of money and finances and material possessions. Also, your values are in the second house. Now, the intentions that you set at the time of this new moon will manifest by the time we get to the full moon in Aquarius, which is going to take place August 9th, 2025. I keep wanting to say 1985 because my birthday is actually August 9th. So it's just habit that when I say August 9th, to say the year I was born, and I just gave, my age away. But anyways, I keep having to like stop myself. But the intentions that you set at the time of this new moon will manifest by the time we get to that full moon in Aquarius. And what this chart shows is how those intentions are going to manifest and kind of what needs to be done in order to do so. So at the time of this new moon, we have this Mercury-Pluto conjunction, which can indicate, really powerful conversations or transformation taking place in your mindset or your way of thinking, innovative thoughts coming in. This can have to do with the way you make money, how you bring money in, because it's in that second house. And Pluto now transiting in that second house is really going to transform your money and your finances and your relationship with money and your values. Now, Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius, and it's currently in your third house in Pisces. And we have all this Pisces energy. So there's tons of focus in this area of life right now and activation. And that third house rules community, neighbors, neighborhood, vehicles, siblings, cousins, and your extended family. Also, communication, reading, speaking, writing is in that third house. Your mindset is represented in the third house. And so these are all themes and topics kind of up for review and change, having the North Node transiting in that third house. So there's going to be a lot of change in this area of life over the next 18 months. There's something new coming in with that North Node energy. If you haven't checked out my nodal video with the nodes transiting Virgo and Pisces, make sure you do so because I really get into, what can change here over the next 18 months. And with Saturn being the ruler of Aquarius and in that third house, there can be something, triggered at this time. Uranus, being the modern ruler of Aquarius in the fifth house here, can trigger something and activate something around these fifth house themes and topics, which is children, hobbies, interests, what you do for fun, what you find joy in, and pleasure. Also, romantic connections are in the fifth house. So, with Uranus stationing direct, literally like the day after this new moon, I look at it's almost like the foundations of this area of life are being shaken up a little bit for change. So, just something to be mindful of. If it has to do with a romantic connection or even children, there can be something presented at this time where you're having, to change something. Now, Aquarius, this is your new moon taking place in your first house at 9 degrees. So if you have your ascendant, around 9 degrees, you're going to feel this really personally. I mean, all of you are going to feel this, personally because it's in your first house. But the closer your ascendant is to that 9 degrees, the more powerful this energy becomes. And so this is a great time for you to set intentions around you, how you present yourself to the world, your character, your personality, your physical body. If you're wanting to transform yourself in some way, this is the time to set those intentions to do so. And the intentions that you set at the time of the new moon in Aquarius will manifest by the time we get to the full moon in Aquarius, August 9th, 2025. Now, now what this chart kind of shows is um how the intentions can manifest and what you really need to do in order for that to happen. So at the time of this new moon, we have Mercury forming a conjunction with Pluto, which now you have Pluto transiting your first house for 20 years. So you are already going to be going through some massive transformation personally, when it has to do with, you and who you are, how you see yourself. But with this Mercury conjunction to Pluto, there can be some really powerful insight or conversations that you're having with people because it is in that opposition to the seventh house. So you could be having some really powerful conversations, transforming your way of thinking or how, or this new direction that you're wanting to take, or whatever intentions you're wanting to set at the time of this new moon, and whatever changes you're wanting to make. There can be some really powerful conversations shifting your mindset and bringing in new innovative ideas on how to do so. Now, Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius, and Saturn is here in your second house in Pisces, and there's a lot of energy in Pisces. So there's a lot of activation, happening in this area of life, especially with the North Node here. Now, your second house rules your money, your finances, and material possessions, also your values. So there can also be something triggered around your money and finances at this time, or personal values. I mean, you're already going through a lot of change in this area of life over the next 18 months, having the North Node here. And so this could be when there's something else kind of activated around that and that change. And Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius, and Uranus is currently in your fourth house of home, family, property, and real estate. Now, Uranus is going to station direct a day after this new moon. So I look at Uranus kind of shaking up this area of life a little bit. It's not like a huge shakeup. It's like a minor shakeup to shake up the foundation a little bit so that there can be change. There can be more inspiring change in this area of life. And so if you've been wanting to change up your home or home life a little bit, this is when there could be some activation of that, or a move. If you've been wanting to move, there could be an activation of that, with Uranus kind of stationing direct. Pisces, you have this new moon in Aquarius happening in your 12th house of spirituality, karma, things in places that are hidden, like hospitals, asylums, retreat centers, prisons. The 12th house can also rule isolation, escapism, self-undoing, self-sabotaging. So this would be a really great time for you to set intentions around your spiritual path, because you are already going to be going through a lot of change over the next 18 months, having that North Node transiting your first house and the South Node transiting your seventh house of relationships. You are going to be, starting a brand new journey. And this would be a great time to set intentions to start something new around your spiritual path. And remember that the intentions that you set at the time of the new moon manifest by the time we get to the full moon in Aquarius, which is going to take place August 9th, 2025. And so this chart shows how those intentions are going to manifest and what you have to do to kind of get there. So this is a great time to set intentions around your spiritual journey. And Saturn being the traditional co-ruler of Aquarius in that first house, there could be something triggered at this time. And with Mercury conjunct Pluto, there could be some like really powerful insight, intuitive downloads taking place at this time, kind of shifting and changing your direction, changing your spiritual path, or bringing in something new. Uranus being the modern ruler of Aquarius in your third house, which rules like your mind and your mindset and communication, there can really be a lot of powerful conversations taking place, almost even to like karmic conversations taking place that's meant to happen to like change your direction in some way. So definitely pay attention to your thoughts, intuitive downloads, and conversations that you're having with people, because there can be, really powerful insight coming in to almost help shift your mindset and shift your direction. Again, there's going to be a lot of changes over the next 18 months, and following your spiritual path and personal evolution is going to be key. And you're almost going to kind of be a little bit pushed into it. It's like, especially with the North Node, it's like, and because you're Pisces rising, you're already extremely intuitive and sensitive to the energies around you. So grounding is going to be a must because that North Node's amping up all those energies. So, the tendencies to escape, addiction, self-undoing, self-sabotaging, all of those, energies and themes are amped up as well. So we want to make sure we're following the spiritual, higher energetic path and not kind of falling into the avoidance and escapism and not facing what we must do and what needs to be done in order for us to grow and, follow our personal evolutional journey.